Hello and welcome to another episode of my author podcast. It is Tuesday the 10th of September 2024 at the time of recording. I haven't done one of these for ages, so apologies for that. I am attempting to get back into it once again and trying to get some sort of routine going since I started moving all my newsletters and podcast and a few other features over to Substack. Moved the VIP Readers Club over to Substack. So this is part of that. There's also the blank page, which I encourage you to check out. Now they are going to be short pieces of writing. There are a couple up there already. They are free. They come out as a separate newsletter, and there is an audio version narrated by me, which is for paid subscribers. So I thought I'd just do one of these, kick off with a bit of a mailbox, and then just let you know what else is going on. Before I do that, I hope there's not been too much confusion with moving over to Substack. It's taken me a little bit of time to get used to the format of it and the way it works. For instance, the fact that there are kind of three versions of each thing that I do. There's a post going on the actual Substack website, which is called I'll put a link on later just to get it. I don't want to get it wrong, where the VIP Readers Club kind of has a home within Substack, and it's like an online magazine type format where you can see the different sections organized, and I will organize that better as we go along and more content goes up. So when I do a newsletter, for instance, it does also appear as a post there, and it's quite a nice experience reading it on the website, on any browser you happen to have. And then there's also the Substack app. I enjoy using that myself. I kind of use it instead of social media now. I'm not really going on Facebook or Instagram or any of that, because what I tend to like in my sort of odd bits of downtime, I'm having a coffee or something, is to have something to read. So I'm exploring on there and finding different people to follow and to read and sometimes to listen to or even to watch. There is some video on there. There's some audio fiction, for instance. And, we'll see how that pans out as we go. So my newsletters are also on there. And then, of course, they get emailed out to you as normal. And if you want to just stick with that, that is absolutely fine. That will continue to happen. But there are some slight differences. Like I realised with the image galleries, it sort of makes a collage on the email newsletter, which is all automatic, which is nice for me because I can quickly just upload the photos and off it goes. If you're looking on the app, it shows each image individually, but I think they're sometimes getting cropped, so I need to check the settings. And if you're looking on the desktop version, on your laptop or your desktop computer, you're in the web browser version, I should call it. It appears as an interactive gallery where you can click on each image and see a larger version. Anyway, enough of that. On with the kind of the Mikey's mailbox type feature. I had a few emails recently and as replies to newsletters. So had a really nice one from Susan, who sent me a quote from Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger's famous book. And it's one I used to use in one of my welcome emails, so you may have heard it. It is a great quote. It says, "What really knocks me out is a book that when you're all done reading it, you wish the author that wrote it was a terrific friend of yours and you could call him up on the phone whenever you felt like it." That doesn't happen much, though. It's a lovely quote. And of course you can't exactly call me up on the phone, but of course you can reply to newsletters. You can comment on the posts that go up either in the Substack app or on the desktop browser version. There's this kind of inbuilt comment feature there where you can put comments and I will see those and I'll respond to them in kind. So that's where they'll be. So that's worth mucking around with. Right. Let's see the next one. Somebody was having trouble getting signed in. I think when I switched over onto Substack, it was the day that they were having some issues, or they were doing some upgrades and like site maintenance. Typical, I'd chosen the wrong time. Anyway, I hope that's all resolved. I'll have to check in with that person and make sure it's okay. I had a nice one from Oscar, who asked me about the Colony B book, and I'd kind of forgotten about that series a little bit because I got some new covers done, and I decided that I was going to take the books down and kind of get them all nicely reformatted. And I think the editing left a little bit to be desired. I did these quite a few years ago, and they were quite a fun little series, but I'm aiming to republish them when I can just sort of give them a once over and put the new covers on and get them reformatted. So they will be going up there. I mean, you know, this Substack thing does give me other options as well, because there's quite a few people posting serial fiction, and I think the Colony B books would lend themselves to that very well, and perhaps to readings as well. So, you know, that's a possibility, but it depends if I'm putting them in Kindle Unlimited. If I put them in Kindle Unlimited, makes it great for all those people who are in that, but it means I can't then share the text version anywhere else. I could do the audio, I guess, because that isn't covered. Paperbacks aren't covered either. They can go anywhere. Oh, that's funny. That's an autoresponder. I sometimes get people's kind of out of office messages, that one. So, unfortunately, my email program sometimes links things together as though they're part of the same conversation, even though they are from completely different people. And that is very confusing. So I am doing my best just to untangle it. And there seems to be a message from somebody called Joyce, which I cannot, for the life of me, get into. So I don't know what's... Oh, there it is. Yeah. Joyce sent a nice comment saying, thanks for your great books. Keep them coming. Well, that's always lovely to hear. Thank you very much, Joyce. And actually, Joyce gave me that quote, you are confined only by the walls you build yourself, from Andrew Murphy. And I did use that in a subsequent newsletter. Sorry, that took me a while to untangle. So somebody called Diane sent me some of her sort of kind of favourite authors, which was really nice to see. People like Anne Cleves, P.D. James, Alan Brady, Christopher Fowler, Martha Grimes. I don't know Martha Grimes. I certainly know P.D. James and Anne Cleves. Not so sure about the others, but there's so many authors out there, it's hard to keep track of. But thank you very much for that, Diane. It's always good to hear people's kind of favourite stuff. It's just kind of interesting for me, just because, you know, I'm a keen reader and I like to hear things. I like to see new authors and check them out myself, just as you perhaps do. So Victoria sent a line because I'd said about doing a race, and she says, good luck to you and Mrs. C. Hope you both win. Thank you very much. I mean, we're a long way from winning any of these races, but we're kind of winning in our own personal challenge. Doing these things and getting out and doing them. And we are getting better. We're getting better at running, which is nice. You know, just because we're getting older, it doesn't mean you can't get fitter and stronger. I think with a bit of careful training, you can manage these things. Kind of use it or lose it. That's what I think at the moment. But thank you. Also, the names sometimes don't match. I don't know why. Sometimes my program will tell me that somebody's called something, and then I see that they're actually called something else. It's a great idea, by the way, if you're replying to any of my newsletters, just to put your name. Sometimes people don't, and that can be difficult. So I think this is from Vonda. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I asked about, I'm talking about collective nouns of people and my idea that you'd have a commission of editors, because a commission is a group of people, and it's also what editors do. They commission works. And that got read out actually on another podcast, which was fun, called the Stark Reflections on Publishing, I believe, by Mark Leslie Lefebvre, who's an author and publisher and sort of big mover in the world of indie authors. It's nice he read out my email, so just as I'm reading out yours. Anyway, so Vonda says, how about a dig of detectorists, which I really like, because I'd mentioned seeing some detectorists while I was out on my run. Michelle sent me a quote from Anais Nin, or Anais, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. So thank you very much for that. I'll read that out. It's a nice one, actually. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Now, knowing what little I do about the author, I'm wondering what that's like a reference to, but lovely quote anyway, beautifully written. Tammy has sent me a couple of quotes, I think. Let me just untangle this. I don't really know the name. It's a bit of a risk reading it out. In fact, I haven't had a chance to check it out, but it's certainly a nice quote. A story is a letter that the author writes to himself to tell himself things that he would be unable to discover otherwise, which is a lovely quote. Carlos Ruiz Zafron. And yeah, that's a really nice one. So thank you for that, Tammy. And there was another one as well from the same author. We'll move on now. Really nice one from Anne, who really enjoyed my story In Front of the Mirror Alone. I did know it was quite a sort of darkish story, different in theme perhaps to some of my other stuff that you may or may not have read. Depending how long you've been around, you'll know that I've written kind of across all kinds of genres, from sci-fi to sort of YA with my earlier novels. I've done some horror that's not, it's just horror. It's kind of horror adjacent, perhaps you might call it. It's kind of fairly gentle sort of suspense type stuff with a bit of a twist, some darker than others. But yeah, that was really nice to hear that you enjoyed that. And I'm saying that she knows an author who says that a short story is one of the hardest things to write. And she said that I cracked it with this one. Well, that's wonderful to hear. Yeah, it is. It's hard, but it's good. It's very disciplined, and I do love it. And I wish I'd spent more time writing them. They're quite hard to sort of sell and to get people into short stories. Some people love them, some hate them. It's quite hard to find the market unless you kind of are prepared to go around to all the magazines, some of which like pay very, very little. And often you get rejected for all kinds of reasons. This was actually written for an anthology being put together. There was a call going out for them. Kevin J. Anderson was kind of in charge of it, though I don't believe he was editing. He wasn't selecting the stories. It was as part of a sort of training program in publishing that he runs. I believe the students on that program were compiling the anthology. And the theme was Mirror, Mirror. I wrote my story called In Front of the Mirror Alone. And it didn't get included. And often you don't find out why. It could just be that it was too similar to something else, or too similar in tone to something they had, or not quite the tone they wanted, or, slightly different. It's hard in a collection that comes from several authors. You don't really know who you're mingling with or competing with. Some of my other short stories, the Once in a Blood Moon and After Dark, were published in a book, and I was paid for that and then given the rights back. So they are in my big sort of collection of all that stuff called Darkness Awaits is on Amazon. Some of the other ones are there as individual titles, and my little collection called A Dark Assortment is also there. But I think it's sort of, I was trying to rationalise it so you get the best value if you go to see the book called Darkness Awaits, because it has everything in, including In Front of the Mirror Alone. So, and it has Dark Assortment and the standalone stories as well. Once in a Blood Moon and After Dark, they're all in there. So that's the best way of doing it. Okay, bit of a writing update. I am sort of cracking on with the next upcoming Devonshire mystery. I do not have a title for it yet, and I'm really not sure what it's going to be called. It has come out longer already than I'd originally planned. And you know me, I tend to sort of have like 2 or 3 plot lines going on with all different things happening. I'm trying to get back to basics with this book. It's not quite as involved as the very long A Must Have Murder, which, a lot of people enjoyed. Some people said it was the best one yet. But it is still, a reasonable chunk of book at over 120,000 words, I believe now. It'll probably sort of edge towards 130, which is fairly long for a mystery of this type. But I hope it's not going to be moving too slowly. It does have several points of view in it, because there are a few sort of interlinking threads, and you'll see how they link together as we get to the end, a bit like I did in Accomplice to Murder. Although that was slightly different because there were actually a couple of police cases going on as well as Dan's case. So that was all quite tortuous to link together. But yeah, it's coming together. There was a snippet in the last newsletter. Apart from the comments I read out a minute ago, I didn't really get any response. And, please don't forget that you can comment on the Substack posts, either in the app or on the desktop version. Or you can drop me a line and it should come through to me. Even though it's kind of coming via a Substack email, if you reply to a newsletter, it should come through to me. They are sometimes sliding into my spam folder on the program I use, which is a bit annoying. So I have to keep checking and fishing them out again. Not sure why that's happening at the moment. It's possibly because the original newsletter, when you reply to it, the original newsletter gets copied into it, and then various computer systems are going, oh, hang on, this looks like some kind of automatic generated thing. It wasn't written by a person or something, and it gets marked as spam, which of course it is not. Because when I went onto Substack, I only took about half of the people who'd subscribed. The other people didn't seem to be opening the emails, so I dropped them all a line and said, okay, you're not opening these emails. Do you still want to stay? And I only heard from about 2 people who said, yes, please. It's just that, your tracking software isn't catching me, but I am reading them. That can happen, depending how people are opening and reading the emails. None of these tracking things are perfect. I'm not particularly interested in tracking people. I don't do a lot of sort of marketing stuff. It's really just my way of trying to keep in touch with you. And really, above all, I try to bring you something. I mean, I hope this podcast episode has a little bit of something worth listening to in it. I will another time get a snippet ready to read, but because I had these emails to go through, there's only so much I can do. But I'll tell you what I can do, of course, because I don't have to keep this running. I can stop it, get a snippet of stuff I've been working on and pop that in. Okay, so we'll see how this goes. I mean, I haven't prepared this. I'll just sort of get off the top of my head, get a bit and just read it out and see what we think to it. So in this, we are meeting quite near the beginning. I have to go from the beginning or I'll just spoil it for later on. We are meeting again the Reverend Gregory Southgate, who is the local vicar in the fictional village of Embervale, as well as several real villages in the context of my book. So he has just been met by Dan and Alan in the pub. And I'll tell you what I've got. We'll see what you think. Let's see what we're getting at. The Reverend Gregory Southgate halted in 4th Street, a sudden dizziness making his head spin. He took a deep breath of cool evening air, and that helped a little. His sense of stability returned, but his heart still raced. He closed his eyes, counting silently as he breathed in, held the breath, and then released it. That did the trick. The whiskey had gone to his head, that was all. He wasn't used to it, and to make matters worse, he drunk the stuff on an empty stomach. He ought to have known better. It was getting dark now, and the chill air pinched his cheeks. He fastened his coat button and turned up the collar. Surely the evening should be warmer by now. New leaves were in evidence on the hedgerows, and he'd seen many a tree festooned with blossom. On his last walk in Brandle Wood, he'd seen hundreds of bluebells. It was spring, so why did he feel so cold? The pub must have been too warm, he decided, hot and stuffy. It was the contrast between the pub's foggy atmosphere and the crisp evening air that had thrown him off balance. Nevertheless, his fingers were tingling as though it was still winter. And I'll just stop it there because I'm just trying to give you a little flavour. I mean, that is a first draft, so, not rewritten yet, not edited in any way. It will be rewritten by me, and then, endless beta readers and lots of revisions will happen to it. But I just thought it might be fun just to see if you enjoy this, just kind of behind the scenes in a way, to see what we can get out of it. So what am I doing here? Remember, I haven't seen this piece for months probably when I wrote it, 'cause it's really near the beginning. So we're getting a bit more character depth. We're putting him in a time of day and in a season even. We're doing a bit of foreshadowing, really, that something bad is going to happen. We're also making a bit of an allusion towards his health, because this idea that's supposed to be a spring evening, but he's feeling cold. So perhaps it's not the weather. Perhaps it's him. Perhaps there's something wrong with him. So these things I set up fairly intuitively, really. I'm quite an intuitive, instinctive type writer. I'm not a typewriter. I'm that type of writer. And I tend to sort of go with the flow. But part of all that I've written and part of all that I've read over my life sort of goes into it. So, story structure gets embedded in my thinking. So rather than plot out an outline for the novel or indeed for the chapter or anything like that, I just sort of put myself in the place and imagine it and try and become the character. Try to stop it being heavy-handed. I present internal dialogue in two different ways. One, when it's like thoughts, when it might say he thought or he decided, for instance, or he asked himself or he told himself. That's kind of the few of those I use. I don't use too many of those types of constructions. And other factual information. So it's not me as a narrator telling it to you. I present his thoughts on the page, if you see what I mean. So if I think of an example, surely the evening should be warmer by now. That's not an explicit thought. It doesn't say he thought, but I'm presenting it there in the way that he would think it, so that the reader is immersed and feels that they are in the character's shoes, rather than having a narrator in the way. I very much feel it's my job to get out of the way. You shouldn't think about me. You shouldn't think about any flourishes. If I put in a literary sort of flourish or, a bit of flowery prose, I generally cut it out, even if it's a nice turn of phrase or a nice choice of words that occur to me. I just think, no, that's me. That's not me. That's not, you're not there to see me. You're there to see the story. You see what I mean? So I try to get out of the way and let you enjoy it. It's one of my few kind of principles that writing should be in the moment. Because there is this sort of option to have paid subscribers on Substack, which I am using to replace the old send me a mug of coffee, because you can do it just for 1 month if you want. So you can join for a month and cancel it, and that's absolutely fine. That's, the way of sending me a cup of tea. But if I keep the old coffee.com site, it gives me a whole extra website to look after, a whole set of extra messages and people to get in touch with. There are still a couple of people paying regularly on there. I have sent them a message saying, would you like to go over and go on the Substack instead, because then I'll be doing some extra stuff for you. And one thought I have had is that these kind of behind the scenes discussions, a bit longer, a bit more involved, could be more of a practical thing for those paying members. Just an extra experience to give them something in return, something of value. So, some extra readings with a bit of discussion. But, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. I am aware that people's budgets are stretched thin. We all have a lot of bills to pay and stuff these days. So I am trying to make as much stuff as possible free. What I'm trying to do is cover all the bases. I think I still probably do more than most writers. I put a lot of stuff out there, spend quite a lot of time taking photos, getting them all ready for you, sharing all the photos, writing what I hope is quite a nice, chatty, entertaining newsletter. Aiming to do that every week. I've got the blank page experiment, which is putting up some pieces, aiming for every week. Didn't manage it last week. Going to be doing some traveling this week, so we'll see how we go, see if I can manage to do it. Might not have to be on a typewriter because they're quite difficult things to take with you. The last couple I've done on a typewriter. I might have to write them by hand instead, just to keep with the spirit of it. And, it will evolve as we go, but hopefully I'm giving lots of extra value. And if you like the newsletter and you feel like sharing it or forwarding it to somebody so they can become a free subscriber as well, that's great. That's absolutely fine. If you just think, Auntie Mildred would like these pictures of Devon, fine. Just, forward it, share it, whatever. That's all perfectly great. And free subscribers are absolutely welcome. Who knows? They might think, okay, this guy isn't too bad. Maybe I'll buy one of his books. But anything you can do is always very much appreciated, but not in any way expected. I just hope you are entertained. I hope you keep on enjoying the newsletters and enjoying the books and stories and other content and the photos and anything else I can put out. So I'll cut off there because this is much longer than I expected it to be. So I am trying to make sure this comes out as a podcast. Podcasts are a bit tricky to sort of integrate with all this together, but it should. These posts should be able to come out as a podcast that you can listen to wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can play them in the Substack app if that's easier and you want to keep everything in one place. I've been doing that today. I was listening to a guy called Ben Wakeham who has a Substack called Catch and Release, and he's got several bits of fiction in there and he reads them, performs them to a high standard with music and everything. I think it's original music actually as well. And yeah, the tone of the content might not be to everybody's taste, but I quite enjoyed it. But there's several things on there, so you might find something you enjoy. So worth a look. There's loads of stuff on here. Chuck, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club, has a Substack. There are all kinds of people on here, including some quite big names. Anyway, and then there's little old me, but who knows? One day he might be boasting that I'm on here. Anyway, okay, I will leave it there for real this time. Take care, look after yourselves, stay safe and happy and healthy, and happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.